Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela. So, how has it gone for everybody this week? I've been a little tired the last couple days, so I'm not sure what's up with that. Because you can hear my voice is sort of a little weird too. And I haven't really done anything, but then earlier in the week I felt like totally spry, so let's see. Kind of quiet in here. I know I'm almost on time today. It's a miracle. So who's in? General Sorrow, Austin 108, and Gainer Shari, of course. Shari D. I think that's everybody. Yeah. Oh, Joe Blor's in. Yep. Okay, so what's going on? I do have a couple this week that are fairly interesting. This is one that I especially like. So apparently there's now like this, people are calling it like the black and white volcano. There's like this volcano that spews out. Okay, so normally lava is red when it's fresh, right? Reddish. And then a while back we got that weird volcano that makes the blue lava. Well, now we have one that puts out black lava that flows like water, and then it like turns the lava turns white after it dries. And I'm trying to tack down how long it takes to turn white. But you could see like on this one that it kind of looks like a bird poops or something the way it comes down. So this one is fairly active. It's been active recently. There's like lots of video of it. If you look up, it'll say, there'll be recent video of it recently spewing. So there's a couple really weird things about it besides that. So first of all, let's look at the video. So it looks to me like when it's going off, it looks like mud. So when I was watching it, I'm like, are you sure this is not just like a mud volcano? Which, granted, are somewhat new to my timeline, and I've had shows on that before, but not new, not like this. So I'm like looking at, I'm like, it just looks like mud. And so apparently it's extra cool lava of a kind of substance that melts really easy so that it could still be lava even though it's cool. And it flows really fast like mud, and it looks like mud, but it actually is still fairly hot. But one person actually did fall into the lava and jump out, and they didn't die, which would not happen with normal lava. They had some nasty burns, but they didn't die. So, I mean, I kept looking at the video and going, but that's mud, people. So they're saying it flows really quick, like mud. But here's the, like, after it dries, it's white, or cures, or cools, or whatever. So here is the black lava going over the white lava. My brain is like, what? So I'm just gonna like skip through a couple spots on this video. See, it really looks like watery mud even. I mean, even mud doesn't flow that fast, so it's just kind of tripping me out. All right, so this beastie, it's called oh, I forgot already. Mountain of God volcano. It's in Tanzania. I think their name is Old Doinyo Lengai. Is I probably slaughtered that, but that I would assume would be the native terminology for it. So there's other like weird things about it. And here's okay, that kind of all right. So one thing that I caught was it said, let me go through some of this. The type of lava effusing from this distinctly alien edifice is known as carbonatite. Unlike most lavas, which are based around silica and oxygen, this contains a lot of alkali elements, calcium and sodium mainly, along with a lot of dissolved carbon dioxide. This particular lava is so sodium rich that it is a natrocarbonatite. The melting point of all these molecular changes is far lower than that of any silicate lavas, which is why it erupts so coolly. This combination means that on occasion, fire fountains of black lava streak into the sky, freeze in midair, and shatter into pieces that drift away in the wind. Okay, so they're so light that they don't just float on water, they drift in the wind. Now there's a link here, but if I click on it, it leads to nowhere. It just leads to a list of other articles, and I am not able to find where this link was originally intended to go to, if anywhere. I'm like, did the timeline not make the floating lava yet? I looked for any links for floating, like flying lava, wind drifting lava. I'm like, I guess it's up there with the ballooning spiders now, except you can find video of ballooning spiders. I could not find any video of the ballooning hot lava. This was like the closest I was able to find. So apparently it spewed out and then just dried in its spew form. Mountain of God, the weirdest volcano in the world. At least now, it used to be the blue lava was the weirdest volcano, but now it's this one apparently. There's no competition. The weirdest volcano in the world is definitely in Tanzania. The only active volcano known to erupt carbonatite lava. Now keep a sharp eye on this, because I will not be at all surprised that within a year or 2 or 3 or 4 maybe, there will be more of them, and suddenly they'll be like, well, that's the main one, but there's this other one that has very similar, and blah blah blah. So basically what we got, black lava has turned white, red lava is turned black. Lava now apparently can dry midair and float away in the wind. You thought the blue lava was weird. Now we have this. The lava erupts at temperatures never exceeding 510 degrees C, which is 950 Fahrenheit, far below the minimum for basalt, which is 1000 degrees C or 1832 degrees F. One of the most common lava types, one of the most common lava types on the planet. So this totally leaves open that there's going to be more lava types that we have not heard of yet. So I've heard of the blue lava, the normal lava, and apparently now we have natron carbonate or carbonatite lava. So what other ones are there? It is the only place on the planet that is currently erupting carbonatite lava. So I guess if we get an eruption next week in another location, it also could be carbonatite lava. Some of the strangest stuff you will ever see. These lavas are like no other lava, chock full of calcium, blah, 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 leading to some odd properties. The ultimate source of these carbonatite lavas is still hotly debated. Old Donyo Lengai doesn't even erupt the usual carbonatite, if you can call any carbonatite usual lava. Not only that, but carbonatites might be a good source for mining rare earth elements. Okay, more of what I've already said now. They have less than 1/4 weight percent silica, blah, blah, blah. There's another very interesting image of it. Wow, the coyotes are going crazy out there. See, that one's interesting, but it doesn't seem to be flying away. Most lava flows across flat plateau at speeds rarely exceed 10 kilometers per hour, about 6 miles per hour. So you can usually step out of the way. Aldonio Lengai's lava can easily outpace a human's running pace. So it is a good thing it rarely undergoes a powerful voluminous eruption. Well, that's nice of it. It's going to go fast. It should not go violently, right? Okay, so yeah, we got a new weirdo volcano, basically. I think I've already done this one. There it is in the distance. The child with a giant head, it looks like here. Yeah, very interesting. I'm kind of trying to figure out how, like, when does it turn white? And I couldn't find any info in all these articles. Maybe it's not ready. The timeline has not tacked that one down yet. Will we find out more weird stuff? So this has come in pretty weird already. I'd really like to find some video of this floating away in the air business, because that's pretty crazy. I mean, there should have been video because there's a link to the video, right? I mean, you would think that that video would be like viral as heck if somebody had gotten a hold of this. There hasn't been a lot of info here. Let's see. Can we even find out when this weird carbonatite was first discovered? The Maasai view it as the god of some kind of god. So, let's see. Recent eruptions in 2007 to 2008 impacted the surrounding region. So it's not new, this carbonatite, at least not in this timeline. Okay. The carbonatite lavas are rapidly chemically modified by rainfall. So maybe it's the rainfall that makes it turn white, or covered by deposits condensing from fumarolic gases, yielding secondary minerals like calcite. Now, calcite's often white. Galusite, nacolite, personite, shortite, thermonatrite, and trona. I have literally never heard of any of those other than calcite. Galusite? I don't think I've heard of that. Yeah, none of those others. I've never heard of trona, including various chlorides, fluorides, and sulfates. These rocks form crusts on the lava flows and within lava tubes. Weathering on the silicate rocks has yielded zeoliths. Crystalline alumosilicate materials commonly used to commercial absorbents. Okay. Gases consist of mostly water and carbon dioxide. Eruption history. Records of eruptions going back to 1880s. The volcano is continually active, but there are seldom observations of its activity. It erupts tephra and lava flows. Tephra, maybe that's that fast stuff, is a fragmental material produced by volcanic eruption regardless of composition, fragment size. I've never seen or heard that word tephra. During the 20th century, lava filled it, and by 1998, lava was overflowing its rim. So it's been known about a long time. There was an eruption in 98. There's almost continuous eruptions. 1917, 1940, 1966, 1983, 93. Okay, so it's not new at all. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but it's the world's weirdest volcano currently. And I never heard of it. Has anybody ever heard of the world's weirdest volcano? Yes, and I agree with you. And the last couple of weeks went by even faster. For me, there was about a month ago another jump in the speed of the day, and it was a pretty big one. It's very irritating. I had kind of gotten used to the speed of the old days, and now I was getting more efficient. I was working harder. I was catching up on things, and now I'm like having trouble keeping up again. So it's like, no. This is so wrong. I have been sleeping less, just seem like I need less sleep. That has helped not nearly as much as I thought it would. I mean, like getting another hour or two a day, you would think would help a lot, but it seems like it's 5 minutes of time or something. Let's see. Shari's got a link, so let's check this out. It's always interesting clicking on these links because I have no idea where I'm going to end up. Yemen Socotra. Okay, I've had Socotra on. For me, the weirdness of Socotra, like these dragon trees, is not new to me. I was all into Socotra in the 90s. But I will tell you that it has changed drastically because it used to, I actually own some of these dragon trees, not that big, unfortunately, but you can grow them here with a little protection from the cold. They grow really well from seeds, but you can't let them get too cold, basically. But yeah, these are hardy guys, these dragon trees. But what used to be the case with Socotra is we had even a speaker at the plant club I used to be in who visited here and had many slides and talked all about it. And one of the things they said was that, you had to walk a long way to see one of these trees. Like, there weren't like forests of dragon trees. They're like one here, and then you walk a mile and there's one more. So they would only show like one isolated tree, but that's not the case anymore. So here's like 3, 4 in one spot, and these really weird plants here that they have a really big base. I can't remember. There's a number of names for these. I'm offhand, I can't recall. But these things, there would be just one here. There were not forests of them, but now there are like forests of these things. And I've had that on. Look at that. Crazy. But yeah, dragon trees. I don't think they had quite that many splits back then either. So the island is just way more packed with weird per square inch than it used to be for me, Socotra. So that's the Mandela for me. My headache is gone today after 7 days of headache and torture. Yeah, that sucks. So you can totally grow these if you have like a tropical or not too cold subtropical. They will grow in the not, like, basically if you don't get frost, you can probably, and if it gets close to frost, you kind of need them like to just have a little overhang, or maybe it's on a parking lot that re-radiates the heat. They tolerate the heat really well, and they're very drought tolerant. So if you get a seed, they grow really well from seed. Vivian Mercier, I had a headache today, Shari, after years of not having any. Well, that sucks. I had a lot of headaches for years, but it seems like I've kind of gotten it back. So when I was a kid, I never got them. I started getting them like in college mildly, and then they got worse and worse. I mean, I don't have migraines or anything, so I can't really complain, but it's just they're irritating. But lately I've kind of not had them that much, so that's, I don't know. What is a headache? I mean, they don't even know really what causes it. You think about it, it's pretty wild that we don't know what causes headache. I mean, they have theories. All right, what else we got going on? So I don't know like what cave I was sleeping in, but apparently there is images of Mars that look like trees on Mars, and they've been around since at least 2010, probably earlier, because I find articles on them going back to 2010. So that is a Mandela for me. I mean, I remember the face on Mars. That was a big deal. And then there were a couple of researchers that would scroll in really tight and like maybe this is a little triangle shaped protrusion there. And there was a lot of theories on if they were once buildings, but they were pretty hard to see, like, well, maybe. And then suddenly they were more, and that was quite some time ago though, but there became more and more talk about these like kind of weird what did they call it? Tunnels, there was like wavy things, and they like, what is that? Then we were talking about that there was ice on Mars. That was pretty crazy. But I never saw anything on trees. I have never seen things that look like trees. And suddenly today, there it was on Reddit. I'm like, what? Okay, so I don't know. I put a close-up image of one as the thumbnail. And the story that NASA gives for these does not make any sense to me. I just don't understand. So I don't know if you've seen these. I've seen them today for the first time. Okay, so the story that NASA is giving is that there were landslides, and the landslides expose these streaks of darker soil. Okay, and there's quite a number of reasons why I totally don't trust the story. Let me see if I can find like a little closer up version of this. No, that's not very good. I'd really like a better one than that. We have anything? No. You know, you'd really think that there would be some decent quality. This might be about as good as it gets. No. I'm trying to find one that has a lot of pixels so I can expand into it. The Schumann charts of Father's Day look like gigantic French braids. I've heard some stuff about the Schumann getting weird. You know, the Schumann gets weird and then you get used to the weird and then it gets more weird. I think we went through a huge update. Yeah, I actually had more activity like a couple weeks ago, so I'm not really sure. Maybe I'll see more stuff next week, because it seems like stuff shows up kind of after the big, like, physical symptoms. There was that was a malfunction in Russian-based machine. Check the Italian one. It's normal. Okay, so they announced it. So, like, of course, NASA's not saying they were trees. They're saying it's mud, like slides, like mudslides or something. Isn't this typical? As usual for me, when stuff shows up, it's very hard to find something with plenty of pixels. Okay, this is pretty good. All right, so if you look from a distance, one of the first things, they're saying that there was like a dirt slide. And these are seasonal, so they only show up like, I guess, once one season or one time a year. And keep in mind, these are like 100 feet tall here, according to NASA, whatever they are. So they're saying they're mudslides. Now, I have some serious issues with this concept. First of all, I'm going to go through because I wrote them all down. You would expect mudslides to occur in the steepest areas. So the steepest areas are like here, especially. But here, this mudslide, it really looks like it's supposed mudslide. It really looks like it's at the bottom of a hill, and the lines are not on the hill. Now, the steepest areas of the hill do have what looks like ordinary erosion. So wouldn't you expect the lines to be in here with the ordinary erosion mudslides? So the ordinary erosion lines are all in these places that are steep, like especially here, like right here. You would expect the mudslides to occur there. So that's issue number one. Okay, issue number two I have is that the lines go through different strata colors of soil, but these strata colors of soil do not appear to have been in a mudslide. So here the lines are down here in this orange soil, which is not orange enough for Mars in my opinion, but okay. Then it streaks up into the white and then a little bit more back into the orange. So there's all the streaks, but yet none of this looks like it slid. It's all not disturbed very much. And then you see the same here. That is issue number two I have with these. Issue number three is that they don't really seem to slide downhill. Like downhill for this area looks like it's this way, you know, but yet the downhill goes like this, but yet the streaks are like this? Shouldn't they be going downhill? Downhill? Same here. This is downhill is this way, yet they're that way. There's no pattern to these. You would think that they would come from like sliding down the top of the hill. So that's another issue I have. Another issue I have is they all end at the same place. Now, when you have a mudslide, it slides and some tendrils go off here. Some tendrils will go further. They don't all just go slide, stop. Okay. Now, where they should be all starting at the same place is at the top of a mudslide. A lot of times, the top of a mudslide, the whole thing will start to slide at one chunk, and then you'll see that they'll start all in like a line. Maybe it'll be a curved line, but they'll all start along that curve. But here you see some are long, some are short, blah, blah, blah. Then they all end, at a very similar spot, like it's more like a clump of trees. It's just like none of this makes sense as a mudslide. Okay, no. Another issue I have is they all start out fat and get narrow, which is not standard behavior for mudslides. I've seen some mudslides do that, but a lot of them actually get wider, or they split across, or they stay the same. That is like a common one, that the slides will just go and they'll stay the same. But these all start puffy at the top, and then they slide into a thinner channel, which I don't understand at all. If you reversed it, like I actually did find an image where they flipped it over, but that doesn't look right either, because then it really shows how they all start at the same place. So it looks like eyelashes is what somebody said. They all start at the same spot, and they really do. I did find an image that of someone had flipped it. It just looks like eyelashes. It does not look like mudslides. Okay, and then the final issue I have is they all look like they start like kind of in a flat spot, like there's a flat depression area. Instead of being in the really steep areas, they're in the least steep areas. They look like they start in the least. Now, of course, if it was a mudslide, you'd say it started here, but they all seem to have roots in like the least steep areas, not on the most steep areas. If there was a slide, you'd expect it here. This is like at the top. Where did it even slide from? It's on the top of a hill, basically. So I don't know. None of it makes any sense as mudslides. There's a close-up of it. You can see that it's going through this strata, then this white stuff, then this. So you can see with the erosion, there's a direction. The erosion seems to follow gravity as a direction. And the erosion goes like, it looks like gravity is about like this. But these are more angled to the side. They don't follow the gravity lines of the erosion. The erosion looks like normal phenomena you'd see on Earth. This looks nothing like it. The erosion seems to follow the normal patterns, gravity, it's on the steepest areas, all the things you'd expect. Now, you can see here the erosion suddenly ends here, because I think this is the flat area, or mostly flat area, more flat area. So you see all the erosion in here, and there's none over here, and this all seems to be a flat area. So what is this streaked onto even? I mean, if these streaks were right here in with this erosion, that would make sense to me. It does not make any sense why they're here, not there. So anyway, yeah, trees, 100-foot tall trees. I don't know what these are. One person had a really interesting idea that is the best explanation I've heard yet. I have no idea if it's right, but they were basically saying this area, because Mars has a lot of like snow now and like ice and stuff. And so if seasonally all of that builds up, and then these things somehow form in the ice and snow, and then the ice and snow melts and leaves these behind, these structures. But it still wouldn't be like a mudslide. And I don't see how NASA thinks this is a mudslide, but that's the official story, that they're mudslides. So supposedly they're seasonal, so they're not there all the time. So, is it some kind of crystalline formation that forms in the ice? Does it grow up from the ice, or is it like some kind of plant life? I would normally say that in the old days, I'd say, nah, it's not plants. Come on, don't be stupid. But, we're so much on this path of more and more alien stuff, and water showed up on Mars. So I'm not going to dismiss it. This might be, a start of more storyline of life on Mars. Not that we haven't gone along that path a ways already. I also would not be surprised if these images alter as the shifts pass. So that's another thing. So these are the weirdest ones. I don't know. Have any of you ever seen these things before? Because like I said, they're supposed to have been out since 2010. There's all these articles that conspiracy theories went crazy over blah, blah, blah. I'm like, we did? So wondering who dusts the Mars rover off. Yeah, they're saying winds do it, but who the heck knows? Has anybody heard of Andreas Grassel piano player case? No, I have no idea what that is. All right. Is that the link, Shari, of the Andreas Grassi? Oh, it's like the man from Torrid. Interesting. The most famous missing man. I have not heard of that. Is one of the strangest mysteries, and still not known for sure how a young man from Bavaria ended up wet and lost on a beach in the Isle of Sheppey. I don't even know where that is, but I assume it's far. It was shortly before midnight when bemused police officers found him dripping wet and peering into McDonald's in Sheerness. Don't know where Sheerness is. Is that like it won't let me watch this because of my ad blocker. Let me see if I can get it one more time. Blah. Took him after doctors gave him a clean bill of health. The mystery man was handed into the care of social worker. 4-month saga as the world's media struggled to solve the identity of Mr. Piano Man. He drew a picture of a giant piano when asked his name. Puzzled, Mr. Camp took his new charge at the hospital's chapel, where he was amazed by an instant transformation. Apparently, he was very good at playing the piano. I guess, he couldn't talk or something? Why is he drawing stuff? He could not or would not talk. Okay, got it. They turned to the Daily Mail, I'm thinking this is the UK, to help launch a public appeal for information. I have to keep defeating their ad blocker. I only managed to fire 5 shots before the man spotted me and became distressed. Okay, so he doesn't like photography, apparently. The mystery man would scream when he saw a new face. All right, so was that the dude? Ooh, is that the dude? Piano man in the grounds. Ooh, he's a strange looking dude, too. That is strange. So that's him. Open image, a new tab. All right, that's the dude. He walks weird. Now maybe he's on the spectrum or something. I don't know why. Why is he strange? He's like really tall, apparently. He looks like he's really tall. He just looks different. I don't know how to describe it. And maybe it's the way he's moving and walking and holding himself all clenched in. Maybe he has autism or something. He's actually surprisingly good looking, too. I mean, the average person is not that good looking. Okay. Hiding behind. Huh. He was unmasked as 20-year-old German Andreas Grossel. I should just find this in a link in a new place. All right, you know what? This is making me crazy. I'm gonna... The story of mystery. I gotta find one that does not require... Sorry, Mystery Piano Man. That is not Kent Online, requiring no ad blockers. All right, let's go to Wikipedia here. He revealed the mystery. Okay, so he revealed his mystery. German Foreign Ministry had confirmed the man was 20-year-old Bavarian who had flown home on 20th of August. They provided him with replacement travel documents. Piano Man had told the medical staff that he was a gay German man who had come to Britain on a Eurostar train after losing his job in Paris. The man said he had been planning to commit suicide when he was discovered on the beach in Sheerness, and he did not talk to the police due to his distressed state. Then he continued to act mute. All right, so the story there sounds like they're saying that he was trying to commit suicide and maybe failed. But now it sounds like these other articles are saying a whole nother thing, though. Ugh, now there's not much article there. Yet mystery remains. Well, what's the mystery part then? All the labels had been removed from his clothes, and he seemed unable to speak. There was not a single person who contacted the authorities from his hometown in Bavaria. On Monday, the Mirror reported the man had finally broken his silence after more than 4 months. All right, and then he told that story that he had come on the Eurostar train. Journalists are trying to find out why nobody in town had identified him. Huh, okay, so mystery but no mystery? I don't know. When did this even happen? On 2005. Yeah, I've not heard of it, but apparently they solved it. I don't know. The story goes like this. One morning, a cleaning lady asked him, "Are you going to talk to us today?" And he says, "Yes, I think I will." Huh. The parents were a farmer, and they said he couldn't play any piano at all, maybe some keyboard, but no piano. He couldn't say how he got to England. He had no passport, no money in his clothing, had no labels. They were all cut out. Okay, yeah, that is kind of weird. So how did he learn to play piano? By apparently trying to commit suicide? Yeah, I don't know. The world here is just weirder all the time. I don't know what to say anymore. All right, so... Okay, so the other thing that was weird apparently on this Mars is that they found these... People are calling them the banyan trees. Like, if you know banyan, it's those large, like, rubber trees. but seen from above. They look like trees from above. So I have not seen these either. I'm assuming also that these would be like hundreds of feet wide. So is there giant trees on Mars? I don't know, but there's just a bunch of images of stuff that I'm like, what? Ooh, I wonder this one. This one, open image. I don't think I've seen this one either. It could be a rock, but it does look a little tree-like. There was one other that looked like a bunch of trees. See if I can find it. Not as much as those stick things. Those stick things, though, they don't really look like normal trees to me either. Ooh, that one's interesting. Okay, what's that? That could be one of the stick things. That's really thin. Like, what the heck? And then it's a little bit fatter on top. Yeah, that is weird. What could be so thin that would hold up? I mean, I can't think of anything on Earth that would be so thin. That's the other thing about these stick things. It's like, I don't think they can be slide lines, but what could be 100 foot tall and like even be angled and like not fall over and be that thin? I mean, the gravity is not that much lighter on Mars, is it? I'm trying to find that. There was one image that showed a lot. Here's a close-up of the stick things. See, and look, you know, I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. I mean, these could be roots or they could be, it kind of looks like when the Nile River is coming to the ocean and it splits out, but I've never seen landslides do that. I mean, river flow lines, yes, but then river flow lines don't usually cut through all these different strata without affecting them, and then they usually would go with the gravity, and these don't. So it doesn't really. And why would it split all apart here? I just, and then they all end at the same spot. I mean, if something's flowing, wouldn't there be like a puddle down here? But there's not. So I don't know. I think wasn't really it, but that was interesting. There was one that looked like a million like little stick things, kind of more separate, like you would see like a forest or something. See, I think there's another close-up of the stick things. Just, it does not look like a slide. If there was a slide, then all of this other stuff would slide with it. So maybe something like leaking out, but then why does it all like suddenly stop down here? I don't know. I think that we might find out more. It just kind of fits with the whole weird alien theme quite a bit, though. Of course, now I cannot find. Super blurry image, not useful. Okay, so anyway, those are like the two main ones I've scraped up this week. I didn't look too hard. I had some from last week that I had to cover, so I was trying to get something done today besides this, and I got very little done. Very little. You know what? It's getting really cold in here. So if you will forgive me for like 2 minutes, I'm going to go bring my two trees inside because I don't want them to get, they're kind of whiny. I'll be right back. I'm trying to grow berries on those, and if they get cold bit, I might lose all my berries. So I do not want them to get cold bit. It's been unseasonably cool this year so far. Now, normally I don't mind that, but I'm trying to grow these berries, so those guys have to come into the house. Last time it was this cold, I didn't bring them in. There was some damage on one of them. They're kind of big trees, that's why I'm out of breath. They're like heavy. The guy could play Tchaikovsky by heart. That is weird. So there have been in current weird like cases of people having damage to their head and then suddenly becoming a savant. But even then, to play like Tchaikovsky when you couldn't play piano at all, that's why they thought he was a professional that went mad after some dramatic stuff. So yeah, they were looking at professional piano players, not some dude from Bavaria. So they didn't mention any of that stuff in the wiki, of course. Hey, all right. I am kind of a bleeding heart sometimes, but let me tell you something about my trees, okay? I'm trying to grow the miracle berries that change the sour stuff into sweet stuff because I really like miracle berries, but they're kind of expensive. So if this tree makes, there's like 50 possible 60, 80 fruits on one tree. So that's like, these fruits are like $1 each. So that's $80 a bush, okay, that I'm trying to grow. Now, I don't know how easy or hard it'll be, but the first tree has bloomed. I am hoping that it is setting berries, and it's $80 worth of berries on there. So as much as I'm a bleeding heart, I also do not want to lose $160 worth of berries off my tree because I could either eat them and enjoy them or I could sell them. But either way, I don't want to lose them because I was too lazy to go outside and bring my trees in. Now, normally in this season, I could leave them out there fine because it's normally not cold at all right now. Usually at night, it'll be comfortable at night and hot during the day. So it's a little strange. We're actually trying to set up a greenhouse for them, and then I won't have to worry about it. But they've been very whiny about the fire preparedness this year. For a couple of years, they were pretty lax, and I thought I had the house pretty set up, but they had a laundry list of stuff they wanted to do. So we've kind of had to set the greenhouse aside and do a lot more stuff for the fire department. It's one of the things about living around here is that they'll, different people do the inspections every year, and one guy will be like super meticulous and another guy will say, oh, that's a great job. And that's become more and more of an issue in recent years. We used to have the same guy for like 15 years. We knew exactly what he wanted done. We would do it and there would be no problem. But lately it's been like different guys with different. One guy cares about what's near the road, then we get that all perfect. Then next year the guy cares about what's near the house, then it's back. So the current guy cares about what's near the house. The old guy, I think, only cared about the fire department and the roads, but this guy actually doesn't want your house to burn down. Just waiting for somebody to move a tree in San Diego. They're in pots, of course, but yeah, I do not want to see my trees die, but I especially don't. It's not going to be cold enough to kill the trees, but it might be cold enough to kill them berries. They're like the flowers have just pollinated and closed. Hopefully they're pollinated. I've actually done some things to help them get pollinated, but so theoretically, then the little berries will start to grow. But I've been watching them and going, are they going to grow? I think they're going to grow. I don't even know how long it'll take for them to start swelling. So, it's like, I don't know if they're pollinated or not. chat. Okay, I think I talked about the miracle berries, right? I won't say it's an Emmy, but have you ever seen the inside of an owl's ears? Oh, I think we've had this on, and I do think it's an Emmy because I don't remember that you can see like some other parts of the head or something when they're in there. Yeah, yeah. So you can see into their eye and stuff. Oh, it's bigger than even last time. Ugh, gross. Oh, it's huge now. Oh, ew. Ew. You know, we've had this on before. It wasn't that big before. This is definitely a Mandela. Oh, it's like way big now. Oh my God. It was just like a kind of big hole. Now it's this gaping, creepy mouth thing. Oh my. It's a Mandela. It's a Mandela. Okay, we've looked at this before, but it was like a slightly large ear size hole. I mean, now the thing is bigger than its mouth, it's bigger than its eyes. So you used to be able to see a little bit of eye structure in there, but now, oh, that's just creepy. Why would it even have that? That can't be like safe. I mean, like something could attack from the side and just poke out the eye. There's no protection and it's just wrong. So, yes, I think it's a Mandela, in other words. God, that's gross. Okay, so I actually researched this, and one guy said the trick for the flowers are tiny, tiny, and then they point down and they barely open. So you can't even get a pollinator brush in there. Like, not even, you just, so what one guy is doing is they are self pollinating, but you just need to get the pollen to get onto the right spot. So what he does is he gets an electric toothbrush and he holds it on the branch, and that makes the flowers go bzzz like that, and it shakes all the pollen around. And he's had really good luck making sure that they self-pollinate that way. Now, in the wild in Brazil, they do have a natural pollinator, but we don't know what that is. So this is how you self-pollinate, is with this. And so I'm hoping that worked. I did do it. Obviously, you could put like a different brush head on. I have like a Gunji brush head that I use for, cleaning and pollinating and stuff. So that's what I used. And it definitely seems to work when you put it on there, like pollen goes boosh out of the plant, and the plant smells like kind of like honeysuckle. It's a very sweet smell, and you can smell the plant when you do it. Why would you be able to see the eye socket from the ear? I mean, the eye socket is right there, but why would you have ear hole the size of, I don't even know. It's gross. I know. Yeah, I know. That does not look like a good. So for me, I don't even remember them really even having an ear hole. And then they had a tiny ear hole, and then it was kind of big, and you could see a little bit of structure in there. And now it's this gaping chasm in the side of their head, apparently, which is absolutely creepy. All right, so we'll close off all the trees. Will these change over time is the question. I just think it's really interesting that these things showed up right when we have this whole alien disclosure thing going on. Like whether it's really disclosure or a psyop or it's some of each, one leading to another. I don't know. But the concept of aliens is much, much, much talked about. And so far, every time something becomes a huge talked about thing in society, some version of it comes true. So, and some of those things are really physically there. Like they're not just a psyop. So everybody talks about something, that thing, as you can actually physically go there and look at it when it shows up. So will we get that for aliens, or will it just be a psyop that shows up? But I think stuff is going to continue to happen because it is on everybody's tongue more than ever. Search barrel eye. Yeah, that one was one of the early Mandelas. One of the first ones I had on. in some of my first videos. Let's just take a little peek at the barrel eye though, because I'm wondering if it still looks the same. That was when I was freaking out that there was a fish with an invisible part to it, because there was no invisible headed fish. All right, so the story on these, if I recall correctly, assuming it has not changed, which cannot be assumed safely, but that these things here were not its eyes. It was actually these things inside that are the eyes. And then these were some other thing that just happened to be near the eye. I don't remember what they said that was. But that, so they basically have, it has its eyes inside and then a see-through head. This was one of the early ones where I'm like, what in the F? And another interesting fact is that shortly before this thing made its appearance in reality, there was this trend called, I think it's called diaphanization, where they would take animals and they would treat them with a series of chemicals that would basically take out all the colorant from them and make them almost see-through. Like you could see all the organs in there. It would basically make all the skin and outer parts almost see-through, like very, very translucent. And that became a huge thing, and people were selling these for a lot of money. It is kind of a bit of a process. Diaphanization. I'm not sure on the spelling on this one. Here, diaphanization. Okay, this is it. Okay, so here's what they looked like. This was a normal fish that was, well, it's not totally normal, but it was solid colored, opaque fish. And after being diaphanized, you can see into it. And this became the huge rage. And then shortly after that, we got these things. So again, it's sort of like you can see the progression of the concepts in reality, that we went from the concept that you could even have a see-through flesh and look into the inside of it with a scientific process, and up until the point where now it's just natural. And then after this guy came, now there's a lot of weird see-through creatures, like totally see-through fish, not just the head, but like the whole thing. You know, I don't know how bones and organs and everything somehow is see-through in some of these. But at the time, this was the first dude, and it really freaked me out. I mean, this was a very interesting early volley of Mandela Strange. What's your thoughts on the missing submarine? You know, I haven't really looked into it. I mean, all I know is that somebody was looking for the Titanic and the submarine disappeared or something, and I haven't really like studied it. I haven't actually even read a whole article on it. So if there's anything more to it, let me know. It also has a second set of silvery eyes on the side of his head with a mirror-like second lens. Seriously? Wait a minute now. That's not the story I remember. So, are those things that are in the eye spot where you'd normally see an eye, are they also eyes? I thought that they said that they were like sensory organs of another type the last I checked. Glass head barrel eye. Glass head. Okay, I just remember it being called barrel eye. I don't remember it being called glass head barrel eye. Makes me think that perhaps there are other barrel eyes now. Okay, beyond just that one. Otherwise known as spookfish, are small deep sea Argentiniform fish. Okay, looks like there's a bunch of them. Named because of their barrel-shaped tubular eye. So when I first heard of this, there was just barrel eye with just that one see-through dude. And they didn't have a special glass head terminology for it. That doesn't even look like that other image, does it? That looks like a giant torpedo, which is how I basically remember it. These don't look like it at all. This. All right, what is the scientific name of these things? The fish with the see-through head. Let's just go to this article, shall we? All right, there it is, swimming. Tubular eyes embedded in its transparent head. I do remember that. Has identified several species. Okay, I don't remember that. That was just the one. So we now have other weird looking things. That one looks like it's got a mask on or something. Some species have bioluminescent organs. Bioluminescent organs. That's kind of a new one. So the see-through is not enough. Now they have to have bioluminescent organs. Like, so was it see-through with bioluminescent organs? Because, like, if you're not see-through, then what's the point? I mean, like, you're just glowing from deep inside and maybe it gets through the outer opaqueness. I mean, that doesn't even look like a fish. I don't know what it... That part looks like a fish, but this part... So, they've added to the barrel eye species with more strange creatures. How exactly they see and how they hunt. But a 2009 study helped shed light. You know, they weren't even around in 2009. All right. Are those eyes? The transparent head allowed it to see into the dark depths of the ocean. How does a transparent head help you see into the depths of the oceans? Tubular eyes were adept at collecting light. They thought the eyes of the spookfish were fixed in place, allowing the animal to only look directly above it. Then, in 2009, were able to observe a live barrel eye fish that was successfully brought to the surface for several hours. Biologists uncovered shocking revelations. The eyes of the barrel eye weren't just strange looking, they were also green. I don't know, you can see that in the photo, can't you? Scientists believe the green coloring helps the barrel eye filter out sunlight. I don't see how that's shocking though. They soon realized they could in fact rotate those creepy eyes. They found the head was actually filled with a fluid that formed a transparent shield. Well, I'd imagine there's something in there. Earlier descriptions of the barrel eye fish failed to mention its bubble head. All right, so now they're saying that these are swivel eyes, apparently. I'll tell you, when I first saw these other, like, frontal things in the eye spots did not look like the fish was stoned. They look more symmetrical and eye-like. Oh yes, nares, nostrils. When do fish have nares? That's like fish nostrils or nares. That's it. They were nares. This and this was nares. The green tubes here are the eyes. These are the eyes, and these were the nares. That's right. The dark circles above them are the mouth and nares. So this is probably the mouth, and these are the nares. That is how I remember it. They look a little more wonky than I remember these nares. And these were not swivel guys. I don't know what this thing is either. There's like an additional, it looks like balls of brass on a string right here. I don't know if that's going to turn out to be something. All right, let's see. Researchers also noted that some species have evolved to have special organs located in their belly called soles, which are covered with pigmented scales. So we have organs with pigmented scales. The soles act as reflectors that deflect light from the bioluminescent organs inside their bellies, illuminating the deep sea around them and potentially helping them to camouflage. Okay, so now now they can be see-through and bioluminescent at once. These are all the different spookfishes. There's a whole bunch of them now. So there's another one. That's the one we saw before. Yes. So those have developed a bit. That's one of the reasons I really don't mind going back on something, especially if we have time and if it's been a while, because they do just continue to shift and evolve. I've been a fruitarian for 10 years, but I miss hot dogs with relish. So you don't eat like anything but fruit? I mean, like, what about like protein and stuff? Fishy Emmys, yeah. Yellow submarine. Let's see. All the safeguards were avoided. Others go deep, deep, deep dives with all sorts of ways to figure out where the sub is. Oh, so another mystery. I'll have to check that out when I get some time. We talked about Prince Rupert's drops before, but now they say they know what's behind the mystery. All right, YouTube. The problem is I can't play a YouTube because it 40-old mystery. Or maybe I can find that on like a non-YouTube. In fact, I'm gonna kill that YouTube because that's like copying somebody else's YouTube is definitely a way to get a strike really fast. Okay, here we go. Puzzled over these drops for 400 years. So this is weird glass drops that will only break if you break the tail, I think it was. Made by dipping a bead of molten soda lime or flint glass in cold water, which forms a tadpole-shaped piece of glass. The head of the drop is incredibly strong and can resist everything from a hammer blow to speeding bullets. Just flicking the tail of the crystal can cause the whole thing to burst into powder. All right, am I going to understand this? The drop has high compressive stress while the interior of the drop is under high tension. That combo makes the head very strong, which means even a slight disruption at the tail causes the whole thing to destabilize. In fact, the cracks move at 4,000 miles per hour, which pulverizes the glass. All right, so I guess they've just solved the stress distribution. I don't know, but I've never heard of these until, what, a couple years ago when I had them on. All right, I'm probably not going to understand this, and it sounds all technical. People have tried everything to break these crazy glass tadpoles, from shooting the drops to squashing them in hydraulic presses, but these experiments are notable for more than just for fun of trying to destroy the structures. So the story seems to have expanded. I don't recall them being like that hard to break, that you couldn't snap them in a hydraulic press. It feels like the story is kind of upped quite a bit, since I just remember them being very tough, and then if you flick the tail, they would explode. But I don't remember like being like nearly impossible to break them at the head. I don't remember them being bulletproof, for instance. Okay. Well, yeah. So again, another Mandela that migrates. Yesterday had my old debit card turn white, like that volcano. Yeah, there was, what was it, a couple years ago? It was before the pandemic, so maybe a little bit earlier. There was a big chatter about the chip location moving on the credit cards, and a lot of people are like, well, what? All right, more. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. Oh my God, it just smooshes. It actually, okay, so you make them like that. So what did it, they tried to hydraulic press it and it like smooshed. It looks like it's smooshed into the metal or something. I don't know what is that thing that, I mean, a hydraulic press, that's usually metal, right? So they just pressed it into the metal. It wouldn't break. That's totally insane. I have not, yeah, they've definitely upped a notch on the strength factor on these. Much stronger than ordinary glass. All right, there's a really long one, but now he's going to shatter the corner here, and the whole thing just explodes like crazy. But yet you can't. All right, that's total crazy town. You know, I'll say the other thing that I haven't, I don't know if I've really mentioned this, but so my mother did a lot of vintage and antique collecting ever since I was a child. So I did get a fair amount of experience just kind of, okay, identifying what's old glass and crystal and the new glass, and this is glass, yes, it's glass. And I work with stones, and so you have to ID stuff. And one thing I've really noticed the last few years, especially, is that the feel of glass is just different. It just doesn't feel as glassy. It's a little more. It just rings. The sound is a little more like plastic. It still is distinct from plastic, but it just seems a little harder to tell on a lot of it. There's just something different about it now. That the old ID, it's like that's not glass, but then I'm like, but it's not plastic and it's not anything else. So yes, it is glass. Especially some of the older ones, they're just strange to me now. I know they have to be glass because they're not plastic, they're not anything else, so they have to be, but yet they're not like the glass I remember. And Shari, thanks for that. That was very interesting on those drops, that they're that strong now. So it's like the old story was that the center, that the drop part of the drop was tough, but it's ramped up by several times over in the toughness factor since we first went over them. I do remember some them saying that the ball was tough, but not like that. I mean, not like insanely tough. Superman glass. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Pretty crazy. All right, barrel eyes. Barrel eyes, barrel eyes. Okay, I think I'm caught up with you guys. So now we're gonna go back over some stuff. Not sure which ones I called. Um, did that one. Did that one. All right. This one is kind of a. So I don't want to go into the politics. I'm not discussing this for reasons of politics. So I'm going to try to not take it in that direction, despite the fact that it has to do with Biden. Okay, so this was actually going to be on last week's, but we ran out of time. But apparently, like a little bit before last week's, Biden called a woman a lying dog faced pony soldier in one of his speeches. It was a weird speech where he said multiple strange things, but So people are like, well, where does that even come from? And then when I looked it up, so people think that it came from a John Wayne movie. That John Wayne said, or somebody in John Wayne movie said, you're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. Except for nobody can find it. It's not there anymore. And so although I can't swear, this has the absolute hallmarks of a Mandela. Now apparently there's like 50 different John Wayne movies, but nobody can find this lying dog-faced pony soldier. Now the closest they could find was the pony soldier speaks with the tongue of the snake that rattles, which is not very much at all like dog-faced pony soldier, lying dog-faced pony soldier. So I'm really thinking that that's like some timeline's storyline that, and apparently Biden has said it in the past too. So it's some kind of Biden statement that he likes that comes in some timelines, probably from a John Wayne movie. They are completing the new ME stories. Yeah, I don't know. Our bodies are somehow crystalline now. My body vibrates to the sound, something I've never felt before. Vibrates to the sounds. I'm not sure if I know what that means. I do know that there's a lot of changes in the body. So you think it's crystalline? Are they officially saying it's crystalline? Interesting. Definitely there's weird, like, things just process differently now. All right, so they solved the centuries-old riddle of Prince Rupert's drops apparently in 2017, which I believe is before the video where I covered it last time, because, gosh, that would be like 5 years ago. I don't think I covered it that long ago, 5 years ago. I'm trying to think. 5 years ago, I think that was the story, though, that they solved the riddle, except for they didn't have as much solving in it as they do now. The solving has gone backwards in time or something. I don't know. All right, so that weird Mandela, I suspect, is lying dog-faced pony soldier. I don't know if any of you ever heard of it. And maybe it's not from my timeline. I personally have not heard of that, but it's just, okay. Another one is, I believe I have said before that the Black Knight satellite, which I don't remember being in my timeline originally, but showed up a number of years ago as the big thing. But when I looked into that, when I first learned of it, it was believed to be like a hunk of stone with a weird shape. So if you don't know Black Knight satellite, it's basically some blob of something that orbits the Earth, and it looked strange looking. And so the storyline back then was that it was just a strange looking hunk of rock. But now there's a new storyline. So let's look this one up. Somebody else was asking, like, mentioning it, and I looked it up again, and I'm like, and I looked at it, and I'm like, well, it looks way more strange than it did before. Like, it was a little strange, it was intriguing, but now it's super strange. So I'm like, there's no way that that's a hunk of rock, people. Okay, so you look at these images, and here's the thing on these images. Like, I would see images like this, but it was a stylized artist rendition of what they thought might be the real Black Knight satellite. It wasn't actual photos. It was a stylized artist rendition kind of a thing. Like, it, if this image was clarified and easier to see, perhaps it would look like this spaceship thingy. But now apparently that is just what it looks like. So you can see how these things sneak into reality, okay? First it's a stylized rendition, then it's like it. All right, so it's definitely not a rock. In fact, even there's some bumpy bits on there. I don't remember when I looked at this a few weeks ago. This is all of these were going to be on last week's. So now story is that it is a hunk of space debris, not like weird meteorite. Truth about okay, blah blah blah. So they're saying like NASA types or whatever is saying that it's like a hunk of debris, probably a what did they say? A piece of foam or something. Let's see, what was it now? Trying to read through this. Space debris. Okay, you know, the story is kind of weird. So now this story of a Black Knight satellite launcher in 64, and then there's a whole story of Black Knight this and that. And then in 1998, the STS-88 mission, which I think for a lot of us maybe didn't exist, had been widely claimed to be the space debris photographed in the STS-88 mission has been widely claimed to be the Black Knight satellite. Okay, so for me, the last time I looked at this a couple years ago, there was a meteorite that looked weird and it was named the Black Knight satellite. But now there's this whole other conspiracy theory and rumor mill of a Black Knight satellite. And then later in 98, they saw this image and said that must be it. And that's the new story of the Black Knight satellite. And it's definitely space debris, according to NASA. I think they thought it was like a thermal blanket. That's what I read 10 days ago-ish. Let me see if they're still saying it's a thermal, like probably a thermal blanket. I don't know, does that look like a thermal blanket to you? Because it sure as hell does not look like a thermal blanket. I don't know like what it is, but thermal blanket ain't what I'm thinking. All right. The origin of the object in question is known. The object is essentially space junk. It wasn't shot down, it burned in Earth's atmosphere. The first shuttle mission, okay, taken by photos from STS-88. During a spacewalk in which astronauts were placing thermal covers over trunnion pins, one of the blankets came loose and to the dismay of astronauts drifted away into space. Old Word points to the video of the moment the thermal cover mishap, which can be viewed here. All right, so I'm going to assume this is not copyrighted, and we will look and see if it looks like the Black Knight satellite. Because this is the first time I'm seeing this. I think this is, there's got to be a lot of shifting going on, because I looked at this 10-ish days ago, and they said it's probably a thermal blanket. But now it is a thermal blanket. Here is the supposed dropping of the thermal blanket. So I guess this is the thermal blanket. Are we going to see the drop sometime this millennia? I'm turning off the sound. Sometimes that helps not get a... All right, now it's not moving because it hates me. All right, when is the thermal blanket gonna like drop? Because I'm just not seeing it. There, now they're manipulating That's supposed to be it? If they drop that and then they say that's it, I'm just going to laugh because that looks nothing like the Black Knight satellite image. So that's the dropping of the thermal blanket. That um or is it this? Or is it this? This is really obnoxious. Okay, I don't even see where they drop anything. This must be it here escaping. Oh, here it is. This little blob that looks like nothing. But is can they have any worse focus than this? It just looks like a potato chip. So that apparently is supposed to be this. No, it doesn't look anything like it. You know, this really doesn't even look like what I saw. This is more like what I saw. I feel so trolled. I mean, that is obviously not that. The shape is different. These bumpy things. Reality is shifting uncomfortably quickly lately. So the Challenger disaster crew is still alive. Upcoming Emmy, Black Knight satellite, and old paintings. Yeah, we're going to find that like some famous painter from 300 years ago painted it. You know, these UFO things keep showing up in the old paintings, like more and more and more of them too. And then like there's some weird commentary. Well, that disc-shaped saucer thing represents the all-seeing eye of God or some ridiculous baloney. Remember they said nothing can get near the Black Knight. Now are they saying it like burnt up in the atmosphere? It's gone? Because last I checked it was still up there. That's the other thing that's getting to me. It's like now is it up there now or is it gone? And it's not clear. I mean, like one place mentioned something about it being gone. 13,000-year-old satellite mystery decoded. A mysterious object of the Black Knight orbits the Earth, puzzling scientists of the past and present time. The past and present time. Some, like inventor Nikola Tesla, claim to have received radio signals from the orbiting figure. Astronaut Gordon Cooper was adamant that in 1963 he saw it from his own spacecraft. The documented history of the existence of the Black Knight continues to mystify scientists. Modern history. Reports in 1930s of astronomers around the world receiving strange radio signals. Artificial satellites are circling the Earth, writer on Saucers says. I've not heard of this. The reference writer wrote about unidentified satellites orbiting the Earth. What? I've not heard of this at all. I've not heard of this in relation to the Black Knight satellite. That's for darn sure. He documented his knowledge of UFOs, including in what he knew about Black Knight. Gaia's Deep Space series. I have not heard of this. Scientists and astronomers reported seeing a satellite as it orbited Earth in 1953. Saw a blip of unknown origin. 57. Was taking pictures of a Russian satellite, Sputnik 2. The Black Knight showed up in his photographs. This was the first known actual picture of the object. That was 57. Of course, there's no link to it. That would have been extra convenient, but no. Just still showed the object following Sputnik 1. The UFO was in polar orbit. At that time, neither the US nor the Russians were capable of putting a satellite in that type of orbit, as far as we know. The object also appears to be much larger and heavier than anything either country could launch. In the 60s, Time reported on the Black Knight and referred to it as possibly having an ET origin. In 63, Gordon Cooper was orbiting the Earth when he saw a glowing green light ahead of his space capsule. Then he saw the object on radar. Well, I mean, it's not going to, I don't think you can identify it on radar. It's going to look like a blob on the radar. The object was referred to as the Black Knight satellite. The name stuck. But Cooper's report did not. NASA said it was a malfunction of the... Cooper claimed that he did not have a hallucination in the spacecraft, but saw a UFO. Okay. Now we get to that 98 one. That NASA swears it was space debris, most likely a thermal blanket. Okay. It looks nothing like that thermal blanket that they showed that it's supposed to be. There's no way. Okay. Is it still us? With us, two separate people in the country were each photographing the blue moon, captured what they believe is the Black Knight. The object was once again passing by the ISS. So what I remember is it was a known blob in a known orbit, and it was just orbiting. So it was still up there because it was in its spot in orbit. So now what is it? Move around. We don't know if it's there. Another place said it burnt up. So the story has gotten stranger. I found that postcard of the super guppy. It popped into real life right after I looked it up. After 50 plus years, the same company suddenly makes more, already flying around last year. Yeah, I don't know. Reality is getting really wishy-washy. Do not underestimate the power of the Google effect. Google it and it will come. You know, it's ironic that Google itself won't work worth crap anymore. Maybe the Google is just being like funneled on into reality now. All right. So there was the Challenger. Okay. There was this conspiracy theory I saw a couple years ago where they were saying that like two of the crew members had supposedly had identical twins that still live, and another one, an identical looking person was discovered teaching and blah, blah, blah. And it was very weird. And you know what? I'm like freezing. I'm going to have to shut these windows. We opened them because it was boiling. I'll be right back. And I'm thinking it's not going to get that cold and it'll be fine. But now I've changed my story. Oh, it's cold. Alright, I think I got them all. Fine. You know, I'm really glad that I did not put away all of my warm blankets on the bed, because usually I totally have taken that to the dry cleaners and stowed them all by now. But I'm going to need them tonight. Be careful what you take interest in or it'll pop into existence, like Eva and purple squirrels. Now, I don't think I made purple squirrels. That was a storyline. It's a word that's used to describe the impossible job candidate. So I don't, and I did not invent that word, nor did I use it. So I don't think I can be blamed for purple squirrels. Now, there are a few things I might be able to be blamed for, and fuzzy caterpillars might be mine because I really like them. And now they're like everywhere. There's a few others. I can't think of them offhand, but glow in the dark stuff maybe, but everybody likes that. All right. We've got one from Shari, but I think I missed one. Egypt unveils ancient secret keeper tomb golden mummy. Golden money. Secret keeper tomb golden mummy. You know that the Egyptian stuff's getting more and more quality than it used to have. I'm just thinking if another 20 years it's going to be like Picasso level stuff. The vast burial site in Memphis. So, you know, this Memphis thing, I really don't remember this Memphis burial business being a thing. Memphis was like attached to like music and stuff. It was Elvis's deal. It was not like a location in Egypt. So it kind of, every time I see that, I'm like, what? There is that is not Egyptian, people, but it is now. Home to more than a dozen pyramids. Memphis? Animal graves and Coptic Christian monasteries. Coptic Christian monasteries now. I don't remember that being in Egypt either. Zahi Hawass. Formerly for me was Zawahi Hawass. Egypt's former antiquities minister announced the latest discovery. The largest tomb decorated with scenes of daily life belonged to a priest. I'm not even going to try to say that name. Actually, I probably could not. I could do okay, but I'm not going to anyway. The last king of the 5th dynasty. Another tomb belonged to Mary, and blah, blah. So a bunch of tombs. The quality of their art is slowly improving. The quality of their pyramids is not nearly as good as it once was, though. All right, so just more and more and more. I think, isn't that actually new, though? Because they just unveiled it. I mean, there's so many weird things in Egypt, so it's all a giant Mandela on that level, but where attention goes, energy flows. Yeah, it just seems like it's like way more now. So I don't, I've been hearing a lot of people just talk about really weird coincidences and manifestations, and I'm kind of seeing stuff like that. Like, for instance, I couldn't find my favorite kind of flip-flops in the store since like about a year ago. And I think I mentioned that on here a few weeks ago. And since then, not one, but 2 pairs of flip-flops have shown up around here. So one of them was that Dave lives at the other house, and there's some of my storage in one of the rooms there. And then he brings over this pair of flip-flops, which are the exact ones that I like, the Ocean Pacific flip-flops that I can't find anymore. I don't think they make them anymore. I mean, they make other kinds, but not the one I like. He brings over the exact pair, and I'm like, where did you get those? And he didn't know anything about me complaining about not finding them or knowing, he's not in here when I do the shows. He doesn't watch my show. And he says, oh, the cat was playing with them, and he didn't know where the cat got him from. So he said the cat was rolling around like play fighting with something, and he was like, what is that? And he went over there, and it was flip-flops. It was Ocean Pacific flip-flops, the exact black Ocean Pacific flip-flops that you can't find anymore that I like. Now, granted, that could be some story that I bought them a long time ago, and somehow the cat found them and happened to be play killing them. But the timing is very suspicious. Okay, so I'm like, wow, I needed flip-flops, and they showed up. All right, so then about 5 days later, I'm digging around in an old cupboard looking for something that I think it was electrical tape. I'm looking for electrical tape. I dig into the back, and there's a pair of effing flip-flops back there, like black ones. All right, they weren't Ocean Pacific ones. I would only assume that once a billion years ago, my mother put them back there, but they were black flip-flops, which is what I like. And so I was like, flipping out a little bit is I've gotten two pairs of flip-flops like have shown up. Now, I've been in this house for quite a number of years. I have never found a pair of flip-flops in here, and they've been apparently here the whole time. I don't know, it's just weird stuff like that. Technically, it can be explained away as just a massive coincidence, but there's just been too many of those lately. Stay ahead of the retrocausality wave. So that's a lot of the reason why I always say, like, think good thoughts. Try to concentrate more on the good and what you want to see than like the bad. And that's something that I've had to really work on because I was such a negative Nelly and sometimes still am. All right, here we go. Shari's later link. 20 facts about the Black Knot satellite. Well, see, now that does not look anything like that thermal blanket. That thermal blanket looked like it was white, I might add, too. According to monitoring agencies around the world, the Black Knight satellite has been transmitting radio signals for 50 years now. But then I can't even see if we know where it is. And some places are saying it burned up in the atmosphere. And then how can we know it is transmitting signals if we don't know where it is? And who are these monitoring agencies? The U.S. and Soviet Union have shown interest in it. Rumors are Nikola Tesla contacted it and intercepted it. I've never heard of this before. And I haven't heard of any of this stuff before right now on this Black Knight. None of it. I have heard absolutely nothing about strange radio signals from the Black Knight satellite until today. Because like 10 days ago, all I did was kind of quickly say, oh, look, it's supposed to be a thermal blanket. And that it's not a rock anymore. The official story is no longer that it's a rock. That's all I didn't actually do a deep dive. Now we're doing a little bit more dive. I have not heard anything about getting signals from it. The old story before was it looked suspiciously like a ship. That was the whole story. There was no other story to it. An unknown object was seen shadowing Sputnik 1. I don't think I even remember that one. I mean, there have been, I did see a few where like weird lights were following them. So it could have been that, but I don't remember anything about it being like shaped like that thing that we just saw that looks like a little shuttle. In 1960s, the Black Knight was located again in polar orbit. Weight to be calculated at 10 tons. Several months after the satellite was detected by radar, a tracking camera took a photo. The Grumman Aircraft Corporation formed a committee to study the data. All right, then Gordon Cooper reported seeing a green object, which I don't see how they assume that's the Black Knight because it doesn't really look like it. A ham radio operator apparently decoded a series of signals received from the satellite and interpreted as a star chart centered on the Epsilon Bootsys star system. I don't even know where that is. I've never heard of it. Everything is like foreign. It's hard on the ego to not know what anybody is talking about anymore. In 1954, the technology magazine Aviation Weekly and Space Technology released a story about the Black Knight satellite that angered the Pentagon, who was trying to keep the information secret. How did they know the Pentagon was angry? NASA has released official images which apparently show the Black Knight satellite. Yeah, I don't know. See, some of this I probably would have to corroborate to really trust, but I mean, everything is so flippy floppy. I have never heard about radio signals coming from the Black Knight and Tesla. Yeah, I've never heard of that. Matt from Quantum of Conscious channel, his first chapter of new book uploaded. Good stuff. I mean, is there any new stuff in it? Because I do like his overall stuff, but I mean, I feel like it's kind of repetitive at this point because it's the same concepts over and over. I mean, I feel like I don't hear a lot of new stuff. He even admits it's the same concepts over and over. He's just, I mean, he's chosen that road because he thinks those concepts are important, and I don't have any issues with that, but maybe we should all imagine we're a secret Emmy multi-millionaires club. So my advice would be to work on your own reality, because everybody else is going to, each person is going to have their own thoughts and directions. And you really don't have that much influence over the others. You do have quite a bit of influence over your own. On the same concept, though, controlling your thoughts and meanderings of your mind is surprisingly challenging. You know, you would think it would be easy, and then 5 minutes later, you're ruminating on some negative thing over and over and over. And it's like, wait, I've been thinking about this negative thing for a half hour, and it's not, you know, it's an ongoing challenge. But if you can make progress on it, I think you'll find that the results show up in reality. But it's already enough of a challenge to do yourself. At least it is for me and a lot of people I talked with, that you probably don't want to even try to do it for other people. Maybe just hope they can a little bit. But I don't know. It's kind of the Buddhist way, and it makes sense to me, is like fix your own stuff first. And when you really think you fix your stuff, you know, then you have a lot more centered and stable position to spend more time with others fixing like their stuff. I think too many of us, we, instead of fixing our own stuff, we go out and, well, I'm going to fix everybody else, but it's a distraction from fixing yourself. If you still have a bunch of issues, you should at least spend a lot of time on them. Maybe not 100% of it of time, but you really want to spend a lot of time on your own business. And this is something that Quantum of Conscious has been really orienting to a lot as well, ironically, is just fix your own stuff, because you have so much control over you and very much less, in my opinion, control over everybody else. So you're going to get the most bang from your buck on yourself. And then when your energy changes deep inside, that has way more effect on everybody else than trying to meddle with them. Like, it's a deeper, more natural, more authentic, and powerful energy when it comes from your own fixingness than when you haven't fixed yourself, but you're trying to fix them. If that makes any sense. Because you're trying to fix somebody, but you ain't fixed. How good can you be doing something, trying to get them to do something that you don't know actually how to do? You know what I'm saying? So that seems to be the Buddhist way. When I get negative, I find something else negative to distract me. I don't think that is actually the best plan somehow. But there's, you know, if you can get like a list of tactics to use, you know, remember something good that happened, remember Like if you feel like a failure, like think of all of the successes you've had in your life. If you think only bad things happen, think of all the good things around you right this moment and that have happened in your life. If you think your life is hard right now, look around and look for every good thing you can think of. You know, that I have shelter and I have a nice cat and I have food and I have stuff and my car works and, you know, I have a job and, you know, all these things. There's a whole bunch of things. So just like, but even, you know, having to built up these tactics, you have to remember to do it. And so that's what kind of gets me is my mind will wander off into its little habits of negativity. And then sometime later, I'll sort of be like, what am I doing here? You know, so it's a regular challenge. I do feel like I'm making progress, but certainly have not fixed all my stuff, let's just say. No hope, no disappointment. Yeah, so like there's two ways to get what you want. One is to get more stuff, and the other is to want less stuff. So definitely I think it's very easy to get on a path where you always want more and more and more. You get it, and now you want something else. You get that, and you want something else. You get, and then you're continuously like, why am I not happy? So that definitely has to be a thing. Like you got to put a limit on your wants. If you want to be happy, you're going to have to put a limit on your wants and bring them in line with your capability of what you can get. Certainly there are people who spend a lot of their energy getting stuff they want, and they keep getting it and getting it and getting it, and they're still not happy. So there's just a very limited ability for stuff to bring any kind of lasting happiness. You're like really happy for like a week, 5 minutes, 2 weeks, a month, then it's back to the old grind. So yeah, I think it's two traps. Want less, and it's easier to get what you want. But also, even if you get every last thing you want, it's surprisingly hollow. So you can set your goals to get everything you want, and you can get them. But instead, I would say set your goals to be happy, to learn how to be happy. And it may not involve getting that much stuff, but I mean, what would you rather be, like rich and miserable or poor and happy? Well, I don't think it's either or. You don't have to be poor to be happy, but the happiness is, in my opinion, way more important. You know, society teaches us that if we get more stuff, more money, a girlfriend, boyfriend, significant other, if we get these things, then we'll be happy. But didn't you get them and you find out you're still not happy? Like you thought you should be, you should be according to what society says, but you're not. So that's why I would suggest going straight for the goal of happiness. And it might be a kind of a meandering path, but it's still going to be more direct than going after stuff, because stuff is just not going to give it to you. It's just a convenience. I'm grateful for everything in my life, positive or negative. Yeah. The negative stuff teaches you things, you know. It does. You just learn the most. Doesn't mean I want them, though. One of my goals is to be happy with the least amount of negativity, if possible. If you're gonna like ask for stuff, you know, pick very carefully. All right, so where are we? We're like almost end of the show. How many of these have I covered? Black Knight Satellite. Blah, 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 blah. All right, I can squeeze one more in. This is like just a little one, but Marilyn Monroe. Like, I do not remember her growing up in orphanages. She now grew up in orphanages. I remember her having kind of a not very good mother, and having kind of a hard life, but I do not remember her growing up in orphanages. So apparently the story now is that she, like, her mother would put her in orphanages for long periods, or like her mother was so messed up and she would be in treatment, and then Marilyn Monroe would be in an orphanage. So I just don't remember that being the thing. You know, speaking of happiness, I think Marilyn Monroe was one of those stories that taught me a lot about like getting everything you want doesn't make you happy, because she was very beautiful, even more so in other timelines than now, but still quite beautiful in this timeline. She had fame and success, and she had money, and all the men liked her, and by all intensive purposes, she should have been like super happy, like she had the perfect life. But she had a troubled past, and she just, even though she got everything you'd think somebody would want, she could not convert that into happiness. And it was an early lesson for me. So I would kind of pay attention. See, here's an older image of her. She's not as pretty in this timeline as I remember. She used to have these, even absolutely naturally, and even when she was younger, her face was just striking at all angles, at all periods in her life, other even when she was young, but she wasn't exactly beauty, but at this age she was a lot more amazing. Not that she's ugly here, but she's not like amazing in that image, and she was for me. But her life, why was Marilyn Monroe raised in an orphanage? So she was with foster families and orphanages when she was growing up for the majority of her childhood now. Her mom was around, but like always in treatment, or couldn't take care of her, or this and that. So I was very interested in Monroe's life for, kind of the reason I said, and just, in the old days, there was no internet. So you just couldn't spend all your time surfing. So I'd rather cry in a Mercedes than in a Fiat. Yeah. But the thing is, people are crying, and then this is what usually happens, that if I had a Mercedes, I'd be happier. They get the Mercedes, and then they're crying in the Mercedes. So instead of going for the Mercedes, go for happiness. And I think that a lot of times, part of that will be improving your financial situation, at least to decent levels. But just go straight for the happiness, which is more of a complicated and subtle goal. But if you think you can do it, and you concentrate on doing it, and you make it your goal, and you spend a lot of effort thinking about it and trying for it, I think that you will find that it is fairly effective. Yeah, so what I remember is she just had, her mom was just kind of messed up and didn't raise her well. But I don't remember anything about any orphanages, so it kind of flipped me out a little bit with the orphanage business. I would have never recognized that photo as Marilyn Monroe. I know. She used to have, like, naturally these really striking eyebrows and the high cheekbones. And now a lot of it is makeup. A lot of it. Not that she's ugly, but she's, not as striking as she was before. I've had that on before. It seems like it's even more now. Well, anyway, I'm pretty much at the end now, and I didn't start really late this time, so I have to end on time. But anyways, thank you so much. Shari, as usual, has a bunch. And what is that? One of these came from somebody else. Oh, it was that volcano thing. That one came from somebody on Reddit called user Nolazoo, Nolazoo. I forgot to credit that person. I was like, wait a minute, I didn't credit that person. Okay, so sorry Nolazoo for the very late credits, and good find on that crazy volcano. Yemen and island are two words I have never seen in one sentence. Yemen, island. I've never heard of that either. Yemen Island. Okay, we'll have to check into that one a little later, because we is out of time, as they say in show business. So, thank you all for coming. Very much appreciate it. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.